feeling self-conscious because I'm at a new Airbnb place and all the beds look like this, so it looks like I'm a queen or something.
I
It's
know.
really disturbing.
I was thinking, what a headboard.
I know.
Whoa.
I was just like, oh, this
Nice,
is
yeah.
fancy.
You
I
know,
So
wish
here I am, a queen.
I wish you could see my background, but I guess it looks all white, doesn't it?
yes.
No,
Because
there's a little
actually
bit.
you can see the ocean.
Oh.
Oh,
But well, never mind. I
Anyway,
don't know
so
how
you were
to.
saying that being in Spain is going back to your roots a little bit.
Yeah. And why is that? Because I have, or we have a family tree going back to 1392. And
Wow.
in 1392, my ancestors lived in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they were evicted in 1492 by the Spanish Inquisition. So, but originally it starts here. Julia, I'm in Spain right now. That's why.
are you in self-exile or are you on vacation or?
Uh, well, not vacation for sure. Let me tell you, a year ago, on the 2nd of October, we were vacationing in Italy. And then the 7th of October happened. And we decided not to go back to Israel until things settled down. And we wandered around Europe like refugees, even though not like refugees, because I have a sister who lives here, and someone gave us an apartment in London for a while, and I had a concert in Austria, so we were going around. And this went on for a month and a half until we decided we must get the kids back to school and to their. So we went back, but the first thing that we did, knowing that there's going to be trouble during the summer, because usually during the summers they like to make wars in the Middle East, we bought a one-way ticket to Berlin. So mid-July we fly to Berlin, and then we stayed there for a month, and then we went to check out a place in Italy, in Valsesia, which is one of the valleys in the Alps in the northwest of Milan, where they started a community of Israelis, and had a good reputation, good schools, and we were there before, and we decided to check it out, and it was lovely. It is a community of Italians and a new community of Israelis, where and there's a person there who helps Israelis immigrate to that place, because he found out that there is what they call negative negative immigration by Italians to these places, because the population gets older and the old people want to go back to the cities, and there are thousands of abandoned houses, and the authorities don't know what to do. So kind of in this space, he decided that he would contact the authorities and see if they can make it easier for people who want to settle there, like young families and so on. And
Of
even though
any
he didn't say
nationality? I mean, I would
any
imagine.
nationality,
Interesting.
yeah, but a lot of Israelis jumped on that ticket and went there. So we went there too, started to check it out, and what we found out that the Italian school system is kind of too rigid for us, what we want to give our kids, and it's a very Catholic place and so on. And while I did register my kids to school there a week before school started, I said, okay, we're all set here. Let's go and check out this place, La Herradura, in the south of Spain, which seems like an interesting place. So we packed our things and went to La Herradura, and we saw it's this fantastic place and decided to stay.
Mm.
So we've
Wow.
been here already for 2 months, and our plan is to end the year here. I mean, the school year. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So, and when, so where he is one of my favorite parts of Spain, where I often end up when I go to Spain. And, yeah.
Wow. And was it affected by the floods or was that more inland?
No, that was Valencia
Yeah,
more.
right.
It's not
which
more
is like-
inland, but the Spanish coast is quite long and
Yeah.
Spain is a huge country.
it's irregular, you know, it goes up, it
Has
goes
sort of
down.
fjord-like.
It's Valencia is like about 6-7 hours east of here.
Right, yeah. And then Barcelona's maybe another 2 hours east of Valencia.
Actually, Barcelona by car, Jim, we just did that. It's even 7 hours north of Valencia.
Oh, so
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
because the coast
So
goes
this-
both east and west and north
Right.
and south, and it's
Right.
Yeah,
kind of deceptive sometimes.
right,
But
right,
you know, Spain hangs from France like a,
Postage
right.
stamp.
you know, like a, I don't know what the right metaphor is, but it just hangs down, you know?
Yeah, like a foot maybe.
Yes, yeah, like a foot, very much.
Yeah. Except it's
Yeah,
sort of like
but
a club foot because it's like a
right.
square. Yeah.
Not like
Yeah.
a boot like in Italy, but a club foot.
Yeah. Well,
Spain is huge.
you've been wondering, and you really do think you're going to settle here? Because I relate to this. I've been wondering, but not for the same reasons and not with as much hardship. And there are other people who have been wondering with much more hardship than both of us. But do you feel like you might want to ever go back to Israel, or are you done?
Personally, I'm done, but that doesn't mean that I won't go back because my wife, Roni, feels very connected to Israel, and she misses the family. She misses certain activities she used to do. On my part, I would not go back. I don't think it's a good place. I never thought it was a good place to live or raise kids. Even in peace times, I saw that it's going in a one-way direction, which is down.
Were you born there?
No, actually, I was born in the States
Hmm.
by sheer luck. I mean, my parents did their PhD in Boston, and I was born there. But I went back to Israel when I was 1 year old. So, sorry, I grew up in Jerusalem. But even since I was a kid, I always wanted to leave Israel. I didn't like this place, not because I was not happy as a kid or something. I just somehow couldn't understand why would someone choose to live their life in a place where it's constantly there's tension and stress and wars and what
If
have
you
you,
can choose, that's nice. But also, yeah, you know, Amos, that I've only been to Israel once, right? That
Yeah,
year that I met you, and then I went to Jerusalem for Rosh Hashanah.
yeah.
But from an outsider's point of view, I can see wanting to live there because yes, it's under tension, but there's so much community. There's so much connection between people. That's there. I mean, that's there too, right? I mean, that's what your wife misses, right?
I think there's my wife is very connected to her family. She misses her
Yeah.
parents, she misses her sisters, she misses her grandmother. I'm just as connected to my family, but in a different way. I don't need the constant, you know, in Israel, families are very close. They meet every week, even though people may be married or already with children or whatever. But actually now both my sisters live in Spain too. And
Oh, wow.
my mother, which is 90 years old in a minute, doesn't want to leave. So I mean, she says that's her place. And so other than that, I mean, even though I have friends and I have activities and I have work and so on, the constant stress level in Israel is so high
Yeah.
that it takes a toll
Yeah.
on everyone.
Yeah,
So,
I was there. So I've been there several times. I think the first time was 1984,
mhm.
and the last time was probably 2012. I was there again, I think in 2004. I had a friend who was serving at the embassy then in Tel Aviv, and we actually did Thanksgiving with my mom. It was really fun. And she invited some of her Israeli contacts for traditional American Thanksgiving. So it was very jolly. But each time I went, and particularly the last time, which was the most recently, 2012, my impression was in Tel Aviv, which is where I spent most of the time, that because of all the tension that was ever present, that Israelis, young Israelis in particular, had a kind of hedonistic or Epicurean, not, or who was the Greek philosopher who believed just in pleasure? I forget, but it just seemed to me that people were really intent on always having a very good time, in part as some kind of shield or reaction to the constant tension. So I wonder if that resonates with you, Amos, or you disagree with it.
Well, just as a side note, my name is Amos, not
Amos,
Amos.
sorry, you're
Oh,
right.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay. And
It's like Ivan and Ivan, or
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
Amos.
It's just the Hebrew pronunciation. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it's just a Hebrew pronunciation, Amos. It's like some of my friends when I was young used to call me Amos, but the
Which means
accent
to
is on the
love.
no Amos, like the same letters, but the accent on the first syllable, Amos instead of
Amos.
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 And sometimes when they would call my home and ask for me, my mother would say, "Sorry, we don't have no Amos here." So, so they learned that they have to call me Amos, which is interesting because when they refer to Amos is after the biblical prophet Amos. When they refer to the biblical prophet, they call him Amos. They don't call him Amos. So why change it to
Yes,
Amos?
right.
I don't know. Anyway, so about what you were saying, it's you're right, of course, but it's not only because of the constant tension. It's because that all Israelis are required to go to the army, and so after 3 years of military service, the only thing you want to do is party.
Yeah.
So a lot of Israelis in their 20s either are very motivated to start with life, because they had to, or they want to just party.
Yeah.
And there's already so many generations of Israeli who are post-traumatic. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But the stress that I'm talking is, it kind of found its way into normal life, and this is why Israelis are unbearable on the road driving. Everyone is cursing, everyone is shouting. There's no patience whatsoever anywhere,
Yeah.
and it gets to you. And suddenly you come to a place like this in Spain. Everyone is kind, everyone is patient, no one is in a hurry. It gets. You have to get used to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like And for me, this is how I want to live. This is how I want to raise my. I want this constant tension all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're also an artist. I mean, you're a composer, you're an
Uh,
artist, and I also think you're very sensitive. I mean, so my husband's an
mm,
artist, he's very sensitive.
uh,
Uh, and sort of his sensitivities can end up dictating sort of where we go, what we do, because um, otherwise, you know, he's destroyed, right? Like, I mean, there's a certain artistic sensibility that you can't actually create in all that tension. Although you were capable of doing that, but do you find it easier in Spain? I mean, do you agree with what I'm saying? Does that resonate with you?
yeah, definitely, it makes sense, and I think the reason I could do it in Israel for so many years is because I had this space which was my own, my studio, which uh, I was there alone most of the day, and I was just in my own bubble and could do my thing, you know. Other, if it was not like this, I would go crazy probably.
Yeah,
And here, I just I work fine. The minute I go into composing, for me, I'm so totally inside it that nothing else matters when I do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you can get there,
I,
yeah.
yeah, I always can. I'm sorry. People
Yeah.
don't
No,
Well,
no,
like
that's
it.
no.
good. That's
That's why I'm
good.
asking.
So is your
Don't
instrument,
apologize.
I mean,
I mean, I just do. People, I talk to other artists and they're waiting for inspiration, or they have this writer's block, or they have this, or they have that. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, you just go. Yeah,
I start working and it goes from itself. It's like a snowball. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
I started looking just a little bit into your music, and I personally, music has always been an important part of my life. So I understand that your first instrument, or perhaps your still favorite instrument, is the guitar.
Right. Yeah. The
Is
electric
it
guitar.
is it uh electronic or acoustic, or it doesn't matter, or
It's electric guitar.
uh-huh.
I started. I mean, I started late. I picked up the guitar when I was maybe 15 or 16, something like that. But I haven't stopped ever since. So it was very important for me. I played soccer
Hmm.
until I found the guitar. I was very serious about it. I played in the Jerusalem team. And then my friends started a band, and I thought that's interesting. That's nice, and I picked up the guitar and I love immediately. And I've been practicing back then. I mean, 8, 10 hours a day instead of going to school. I would just play the guitar,
Wow.
and it's funny. I ended up mostly as a composer, but I still perform. I still play the guitar. I love it.
So you didn't graduate from high school?
Well, eventually I did. They wanted to kick me out of high school on my 10th grade. 10th, I think it's
Hmm.
15. Yeah, right. 15,
Yeah, that
16.
would be about 10th grade.
This
Yeah.
I had 127 days where I didn't appear in school.
Well
So they
done.
said,
Well
Yeah, that
done.
is really good. You almost
and
beat my record.
and I mean, my parents couldn't do anything about it. I mean, I didn't do anything. I stayed at home and I practiced and played the guitar. And then when they wanted to kick me out, my parents sat me down and told me, "Look, what is it that you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a guitar player. I want to go to Berklee College of Music in Boston because by then I was playing jazz. And they said, well, why don't we give Berklee a call and ask them if you need to graduate from high school in order to be accepted.
Mm.
And of course we did. And they said, yeah, he has to have a diploma. So I went back to school and I turned all my negative scores or whatever into positive ones, and I almost graduated. But then the sports teacher decided to fail me because he was mad that I didn't show up for sports because I was a sports guy. And so I didn't get the graduation. I didn't get the diploma. And I said to myself, I said to my parents, well, it's only sports. Berklee won't care about that. But then I had to go to the military for my army service. And then when I left, I took a plane and went to Boston. And I showed up in Berkeley and they said, well, you don't have a diploma, you cannot enroll. So I did the following. I called my brother. This was 1987. I called my brother in Jerusalem. I asked him to go to school and speak to the sports teacher to see if he's willing to give me a positive score so I can get my graduation diploma. And he said, well, he has to make a work for me, like a paper. He has to write a paper. And if the paper is good, I will give him the score.
Oh my
So
God.
my brother knew I won't do such a thing. So he called my mother, who was then vacationing with my father in France, and told her, look, Amos needs a paper in physiology or biology or something. And my mother said, no problem, I write it for him. My brother is a doctor for chemistry and microbiology, has a PhD in that. So she took a paper and wrote it, and then what she did is call me in Boston, and my answering machine answered, and so she dictated the whole paper to my answering machine.
Oh my
She told
gosh.
me, write it down and fax it back to Shaul, my brother in Jerusalem. And that's what I did. And he gave it back to the sports teacher, and the guy gave me a passing score, and so I could get my diploma. This
There's
is
that
how I
family
got to
affair.
Berkeley. Right.
And so did you go to Berkeley?
Yeah.
And did you majored in guitar or composition or?
No. What happened is I went to Berkeley as a jazz guitar major, and I found out that I really didn't like it because back then there was thousands of guitar players and everyone sounded the same, and you only got like a half an hour of private tuition every 2 weeks, and it really was not for me. So I said, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to study privately with a private teacher, which I found there, and studied with him for a while. And then I found it that not far from Berkeley, there's the New England Conservatory of Music,
Yes.
which is a classical music school, but they have a great little jazz department. And so I applied to NEC, and with my application, I had to submit a cassette tape or recording of me playing. And since I auditioned for the jazz department, I said, okay, well, I'm not going to play again all those old jazz standards that they heard thousands of times. It's like, it's boring. I'll just improvise something. And so I improvised something and sent it to them, and their answer was that they will gladly have me, and that they will give me a full scholarship but I have to go to the composition department, not the jazz department. Okay, and so I went to the composition department. They teamed me up with a professor who was a composer, but also a really good jazz pianist by the name of William Thomas McKinley. And so I studied him for a while, and that's how I became a composer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just a great story.
It is. Your whole family got involved. It was just like,
Right.
let's make this happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your parents had, sounds like they had an attitude of, let's see what this kid wants to do and let's support the kid in doing it rather than every kid has to do the same thing. What a
Oh,
gift.
totally. Totally. They were so great in this respect. They always told me, you can do whatever you want. Just do it well, just invest, because you have the capabilities and you have just whatever it is you decide to do, just do it well. We don't care, and we don't tell you what to do. And this is the attitude that they had also when I started playing the guitar. They saw that I was serious, and they said, okay, if he doesn't want to go to school, he doesn't have to. And this is coming from a father who was in his past a school teacher, and then a professor, and then the
Wow.
president of a university, and so on. Yeah.
Wow. They really got you. That's
So-
pretty neat.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase this question, so I'll just start talking, but what does composing music allow you to express? Or how is composing music an expression of yourself? Or you see, I don't really know.
How does it come through you?
I
and
don't
then
know
what
how
is
to
it
ask the
filtered?
question, but
Yeah.
I find, particularly when I listen to jazz and some sort of modern compositions, I get the sense that it's almost, it's a question I asked somebody else recently that we talked to. Are you composing or are you discovering something when you work with music?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think what happened to me is that in my first composition lesson with McKinley, with Bob, he sent me home and he told me, for next time, write something for cello.
Mm.
And I said, what do you mean? Should it be in this genre, in this genre? Should it be major? Should it be minor? He said, no, write whatever you want. No rules, nothing. Just write something for cello and make it as short or as long as you want. Make it in any genre that you want. Just do it. And then I said, wow, you can actually invent something completely new, and there are no rules, and there are no limitations. And this has been going ever since. And so when the way I approach composing, I mean, music is playing in my mind all the time. So for me, it's just to write it down. And once I write something down, anything down, it can be a little rhythm, it can be a chord, it can be a melody, it can be a sound, it can be a hand clap or whatever. Immediately there comes okay, what follows? And from there it evolves, and it becomes a longer composition or a whole composition, which is as part of that process. There's also the process of thinking about form, thinking about energy, thinking about tension, thinking about release, thinking about where I want it to go, which I cannot express in words because it's a musical thing.
Right.
I decide, I look at what I did, and I say, okay, where do I want it to go now? Does it continue? Does it morph into something else? Is there a break and something completely new happens? Do I recall something that I did before? And that's how it continues. Well, let's see. And so I try stuff and until I'm happy, and then I say, okay, next. That's I
Do you
just
have a,
finished.
sorry,
What?
go ahead.
I just finished, yeah, actually yesterday, composing a new piece, which is a concerto for electric guitar and orchestra. Not for myself, for a friend who's and I did something that I never did before in the form of the music, which is that's funny. I still do some things that I've never done before, and that's
Right.
interesting to me. It's endless. It's really endless. Yeah.
So that actually, I'm glad you said that. It's endless because I keep wanting to know where do you have a sense of where it comes from?
Mm. No, I don't, and I even don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like while I'm talking to you now, I'm thinking I started maybe 35 years ago, and I'm still continuing that day that I started. It's just separated into compositions, but
It's
it's
just
the same
separated
thing.
by intervals of time, but it's the
Right.
same
I never
thing.
stopped thinking. I never stopped to think, okay, where is this coming from?
Right,
What's
right.
happening? Should I analyze the process? No, I'm just going and going and going. It's like I can't stop. um,
Would you describe, I mean, all these words are, I think, limited and limiting, but would you describe your music as modern, as some kind of continuation of jazz, or
yeah, it has all of it. I mean, it's definitely modern. It's definitely my own style. I mean, one of the greatest compliments I got during my career very early is that people said, okay, we can immediately know that it's you.
Yeah.
And that means that I created some kind of language which is my own.
right?
But I do stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, from Bach and even earlier, it all is connected, and then all my influences from jazz and even rock it's all connected. I do. I would like to say, in the contemporary music world nowadays, a lot of the creations that contemporary composers make are dealing with sound itself.
Yes, right. Just with
So
sound, right?
this was sound, so noises and etc., and which I totally respect and I understand where it's coming from, but it's not my music. It's not something that appeals to me, and maybe because I started as a player, not as a composer. I have the highest respect and regard for the performers. And I think that a performer who spent decades perfecting their tone and perfecting their technique and so that they can play anything and let them, and then to let them only scratch their instruments is kind of, to say it mildly, unpolite, you know? I want them to be able to use their expertise and to use their art and their abilities to the max. So my music can be very challenging to perform, but if you succeed after practicing to perform it well, you've become a better player than you were,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
And you have the satisfaction that you stretched your limits, and you've been using what you know.
Is that
clear?
Yeah, is that in your mind? Do you think, are you aware of that as a motivation? Because you are a performer. As you're composing, are you motivated to challenge the performer in a good way?
Definitely. I think it's connected because the music that I feel or that I want to write is complicated anyhow. The fact that it is challenging to the performer is also a plus in my thinking. I wouldn't want to write something that they don't that have no problem playing, so it's too easy.
Not interesting.
Yeah.
That's not.
I'm trying to think of the Russian pianist. Is it Rachmaninoff?
Maybe.
Did he play the piano? But one of them was very famous for compositions that were like too hard for the piano player. They were just like, just people couldn't do it. Like he could do it, but other people couldn't do it.
Right. I think you're talking about Rachmaninoff.
Is it Rachmaninoff? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But today, you see people like Yu Jawang playing. She does it without skipping a beat. I mean,
yeah, right.
There's so many great virtuosos in the past 100 years that they can play anything.
Right.
I mean, even Rachmaninoff. I mean, Rachmaninoff can be challenging musically, understanding him, interpreting him, making it really work. That's the challenging part. But technically, they can do it without a problem.
What impact? I don't even know if you're motivated in this way. So if this is a question that doesn't make sense, then we'll skip it. But what impact do you wish, like in an ideal world, that your music could have on the listeners?
I would like the listeners to be curious and open-minded in a way that when they listen to my music, they will say, it will give them ideas, maybe, of openness, of complexity, of all those things, but it's not a motivation for me. I mean, for me, thing is the process itself. I'm very lucky that my music is being performed and recorded, and that I still am a little demand for my music. That's great. But if there was no demand, I would still do it, even if it was writing for the drawer,
Yeah.
So definitely the process itself it's more than a motivation. It's my life. It's like breathing air for me.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Right.
I think I would die if I couldn't do music.
Yeah.
I was a friend many years ago supported a small orchestra. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I think it was called Iris in Memphis, Tennessee. So it was like a summer orchestra thing. And I went to a rehearsal. They were going to have a woman who was going to do leader. But she was doing, no but there, she was doing modern composers of song cycles. And when I heard that, I just was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is such a great new sensation. my friend, who very much is just attached to the classical canon in a way that I don't understand. She did not like the modern song cycle. And then she said to me disapprovingly, "Oh, the only reason you like those is because they're different." And I was like, I was like, huh. I mean, I was like, that is both true and she means it as an insult. And I'm
It's a problem.
befuddled, you know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, this music is challenging, and I always felt that the reason, first of all, okay, two things I would like to say. It's much more challenging as music than in the other arts.
Mm.
And I think I have some theories about that, why it's like that. I mean, people to a contemporary art museum, the MoMA or whatever, and love the paintings or hates them or discuss, there's a white canvas with nothing on it. It's like a conceptual painting, and then they have, and if they don't like it, they can look away or whatever. You can look away from music. If my music is playing in the room, or any other contemporary music almost is playing in the room, you either listen to it or it disturbs you.
Right.
You
Yeah,
cannot
so
go on washing the dishes
Yeah,
while this
yeah.
is in there and try to think about something else,
Right.
because it's annoying. And the reason it's annoying, it's because it's not in your memory cells.
Yes.
It's something new.
Yes.
It might be atonal, it might be noise, it might be whatever, but it's not the same old major, minor scales, tonalities, chords, progressions, which you hear all the time, over and over again. All around, all pop music is the same. All classical music is the same.
Yep.
Even jazz is mostly that.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same language.
Right. If there's a musician that you like, or a composer, or performer, and you know their favorite chord progressions, and you hear them in every song at some point or another.
Right. And there's nothing new. I mean, Bach already did all of that.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. I mean, I listen to rock and pop music all the time. I mean, I love some of the artists, but you can ignore it if you want.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we can talk, and there'll be a radio playing something or other. Doesn't bother you. But if it was a Ligeti piece or one of the other contemporary composer, you'd have to turn the radio
Right.
off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention.
But so it sounds to me like what you're saying is sort of music has the burden that visual art doesn't have, music and theater doesn't have, maybe, although musical theater does. But music, because it's so close to people's soul, has this burden of having to change at the rate that people change, and people change slowly. So if you want to bring new music or new ideas to people, you're fighting through this resistance.
Yeah, right.
Do you sense the resistance? I mean, does it come to you at all, or do you just ignore it and go?
The resistance of other people, you
The
mean?
Resistance
to new.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, so many times before my music is being played, there's some kind of an apology if someone is listening for it for the first time. Oh, you're going to listen to contemporary music, so take care. I mean,
we wish you well.
I mean, like, concentrate now, or
like, be mindful.
Be mindful, be ready.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to listen to this weird sound or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not like, just listen to the music and like it or not, or whatever. But there's another thing, I think, with music, which is not with any other art, it's because it's only about listening, and the only sense that we have that we cannot shut off is our listening.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's also the most how do you say? I forgot the word in English.
The visceral?
I mean, like you need your hearing for survival more
Yes.
than you need anything else.
Yes.
I mean, the eyes can look only straight; they cannot look back. You don't
And
know
if
if a
there's something
tiger.
blocking something, then you don't even see anything.
Yeah,
You don't see
I mean,
very
you don't know
far.
if a tiger
Right.
attacks you from behind unless you're hearing.
That's
And so I
right.
think biologically, our hearing is so developed that anything disturbs it, or people are very, very sensitive to what they're listening. They love classical music, but they cannot hear contemporary leader, as you said, because they know all their Schumann and
Right.
Schubert and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hooked
yeah.
into survival just in the brainstem. I mean, you have extremely fast links between the cochlear nerve, the brainstem, and the action, right? Because
Really, yeah.
sure, because if someone snaps or like there's a twig snaps over there,
Right,
you
exactly.
you
Yeah.
use your ears to orient where your eyes should be.
Right.
So your
Right.
ears are first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting for me, and I love also playing with it in some of my composition. I compose with electronic sounds, and then I use like 8 or 10 speakers that surround the audience, and so the sound comes from
Different
all
places. Yeah.
different places all around you, and you get sometimes disoriented because it's not like in a usual concert format that the sound comes from in the front.
Just the front.
Now, do
Yeah.
you compose just for instruments or do you compose for the voice?
Yeah, anything. It
Okay.
depends on if I have a certain commission. Like you were saying about Lida, I composed one of my earliest successes as a composer was a song cycle, which is called Arabic Lessons, and is composed in 3 languages: Arabic, Hebrew, and German.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
say what's the name of it again?
Arabic Lessons.
Oh, Arabic
Arabic
lessons.
lessons. We'll put a link to that in our show notes if you'd like our audience to listen to it.
To be,
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna look for it as soon as we stop talking.
Arabic Lessons is a song cycle that was written by a German poet friend of mine called Michael Rüsch, and he's also a novelist. And in the beginning of the 90s, he decided to spend some time in Yemen and write a novel. And so his way of preparing himself and studying Arabic was by writing poetry in Arabic.
Wow.
So this is why it's called Arabic Lessons, because what he did then, after the song cycle was finished in Arabic, he translated it back into German, so he can find new ways in his own mother tongue. So there were the 2 versions. And he told me about it, and I said, "Well, that's amazing. We should do something with that." But so I can understand it, let's also
Do it in
translate
Hebrew.
it to Hebrew. And of course, from Arabic to Hebrew, it's much easier to translate than from Arabic to German. So we had the three versions: Arabic, German, and Hebrew. And I composed it for 3 singers, one singing in Arabic, one singing in German, one singing in Hebrew, and ensemble. And so sometimes they sing together in the same time in 2 different languages or 3 different languages.
Oh, beautiful.
And you have to decide, if you understand these languages, you have to decide which one you're listening to, because it's almost impossible to...
That's a lesson. That's a lesson
Yes.
also.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
And so one singer, I think the German speaking, is right in front of you on the stage, the one is on the left side, one is in the right side, so you can also orient yourself to who you're paying attention to.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was an interesting project.
I envy you. I've always aspired to that type of existence. I mean, I admire people who have the ability, the motivation, the determination, all the things that allow them to habit that level of human expression. I think it's extremely special.
I feel
And
extremely lucky that
that,
I found it, that it found me.
but kind of rare, right?
Rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate it, or at least I believe I can appreciate it at many levels, but I can't do it. I can't flow that way.
It's also important, like it's a benefit to humanity that that we can easily, especially with AI, quote unquote creativity, we could easily think is mechanical or not spiritual in some sense, but it's very mystical. It's very it's like a pillar for humanity of pulling this song, continuing
Right.
all the way back from Bach. I mean, continue and before Bach, and just
Oh,
pulling
of
this
course. I
song.
mean, in all these other cultures,
Yes.
other societies. So I was reading the Wikipedia article on Schopenhauer this weekend. It's a kind of a non sequitur, I know, but Schopenhauer came up at a previous conversation. And one of the things I learned about Schopenhauer is that he thought music was the thing, the kind of quintessential, primary, fundamental, foundational, whatever word, expression of the human is music. He was a flute player, which I personally find to be one of the more annoying musical instruments. I don't
Yeah.
really like its register that much, but
Interesting. Yeah.
some people love it, so, but I just thought that was interesting that, he was not the most appealing of humans, is what I got out of reading the article, but he loved music.
Yeah.
And his pet poodles.
Yeah.
He was paradoxical.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way.
I feel that in my life, for me, music was always in my life, and it's as I said before, it's more than just a huge part of my life. It's my life. I
It
mean,
is your life,
it
right?
is. I can't disconnect myself from music, and lately I've been thinking that maybe it has to do with the frequencies, actually,
Ah,
because they say that the frequencies, the frequencies resonate within your body, and maybe it's something that I don't know how, but it's like a drug for me,
yeah.
because I need to hear, I need to listen. It's like have have like 2 or 3 days without music, I don't feel well. I really don't feel well physically.
Right. Yeah.
And so maybe the things that I'm all the time, all the day, every day dealing with or creating frequency or combining frequencies or whatever, it's actually something that resonates within my body. And
I think it's true. I mean, there are melody lines. These aren't particularly famous pieces of music or whatever, but there are. I've over the years, the decades, encountered certain melody lines that have an effect on me, which I don't understand, but are so physiological. One of them is a song called La Bikina, not bikini, La Bikina, which is a Spanish, or actually it was a Mexican who composed it. And it's it's sort of a pop music tune, but it's a, you'll hear it. It's an absolutely, at least for me, it is such a beautiful expression of something.
I want to write it
And
down.
I'm going to send you I'll send you my favorite version of it, which was
Oh,
done
please.
by I think a French guitarist and a accordion player. Pretty Django, pretty famous.
Django Reinhardt?
Yes, Django Reinhardt.
Oh my God.
And some accordion
He's
player
amazing.
whose name I just don't know did a recording of this song La Bikina, which just slays me every time I hear it.
You know, he's so amazing. Django Reinhardt is one of the first. He's a gypsy jazz guitar player, and he only used 2 fingers because
Oh, really?
the other fingers were burnt when he was a kid, and he couldn't use them at all.
Oh my
He
gosh.
played so virtuosically and so well and so emotional with only 2 fingers.
Yes.
He's
Oh,
really
wow.
amazing.
Oh, all right. And I will send you
Yeah.
the
Oh my
moss from
gosh.
the other. I know we have to end soon,
Yeah,
but for
no,
the
we're
other
at the hours, so always trying to be very respectful of people.
on the other side of the spectrum in terms of elite music choices, I will send you my son's new pop song when it comes out a week from now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great. Please do. Please do.
And you'll say it's like everything else, but it's him, so it's special.
That's
No,
right.
you know, I love pop music. I listen to it all the time. It's just that the language is something that we know. That's all.
It is.
Right.
It's something that
Right.
we know. That's right.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
it's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I could have talked to you a lot longer.
It was a lovely
Yeah.
conversation, and
Yes.
I hope our listeners find it you know, kind of like a meditation almost, and peaceful.
Yeah. Something that I wanted to talk about, and then maybe next time.
Okay. Well,
About meditation and frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's super interesting. But we sort of did a little bit.
I mean, you know,
did.
when you look at history, you know, Wagner shows up at a particular time, and
Mhm.
different composers show up at certain times, and you sort of have to ask yourself why.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy